With underpinnings and mechanical components shared with Britain's most popular car, the EcoSport should be a surefire win for Ford. However, since launch in 2014, it's failed to make a huge impact in the UK, largely due to the strength of its competition. With the likes of the Nissan Juke, Peugeot 2008, Renault Captur and Terrano, the EcoSport has some tough competition, including the Fiesta Active Hatch-cum crossover. Thoroughly overhauled in 2017 with a fresh new look in line with Ford's latest models, and an interior dropped in from the 8th generation Fiesta, the EcoSport is fighting fit to take on the numerous rivals in the compact SUV market. It's based on the previous generation Fiesta, meaning it should provide an entertaining drive, too, even for a high-riding crossover. Good selection of engines as you'd expect from a Ford. There's a range of petrol and diesel options available to buyers, from punchy yet efficient EcoBoost petrols to frugal diesels. Available to buyers is a choice of 1.0-litre EcoBoosts in 125 and 140 horsepower form, as well as a 1.5-litre DC diesel with 100 horsepower. Joining the range later in 2018 is an AWD version powered by a new 1.5-litre EcoBlue diesel with 125 horsepower, as well as an entry-level 100 horsepower 1.0-litre EcoBoost. Good to drive. If a little unexciting, it would be harsh to criticize the EcoSport for not driving like the smaller, chuckable Fiesta, especially as it demonstrates some traits found in the Super Mini, with sharp steering and a willingness to be thrown about. The taller body means it rolls about a little bit in the corners and the ride can feel a little fidgety on examples with larger wheels. While it's not unbearable, it doesn't feel as grown-up and balanced as a Terrano. Plenty of big car tech in a small body. Ford's Sync 3 voice-activated multimedia system is standard on all trim levels, with higher-spec models coming with a large touch screen like you'll find in the latest Fiesta, with all the connectivity options you could want. In fact, the EcoSport comes with a good selection of standard equipment even on entry-level A-Tech models, but if you want more, there's the titanium and sporty ST-line trims to move up to. As has become the norm, there's a range of personalization options available to EcoSport customers, largely centering around the exterior color combinations, with bright shades available for the main bodywork, and contrasting roof colors in black, white, red or orange also available depending on your preference. The verdict: it's much easier to recommend the EcoSport now. Ford has given it a fairly thorough overhaul from the pre-facelifted car. Quality has stepped up since production has moved from India to Romania, and with a dashboard design similar to the latest Fiesta, it feels more up-to-date inside. To drive, it rides and handles well overall, but doesn't entertain like other Ford models. Space inside is good, if not class-leading, and the high driving position will appeal to many. However, with so much fresh competition from all over the car world, it manages to still feel a little outdated with awkward looks. It's better than it was, and some high-list prices. It does come with a lot of equipment to make up for this, though, and it's likely you'll be able to strike a good deal at your local Ford dealer. 2 petrols and 2 diesels, all are turbocharged. Limited gearbox choice powering the EcoSport is a range of turbocharged petrol and diesel engines, all found in other cars in Ford's range, which is a great place to start. Turbocharged EcoBoost petrol engines. If you want petrol power, there are 3 versions of Ford's accomplished 1.0-litre EcoBoost 3-cylinder petrol. There's a 125 horsepower version coupled with a 6-speed manual gearbox, capable of traveling from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 12.7 seconds. An automatic version of this is also available, with an 11.6 second 0 to 62 miles per hour time on offer. Both versions have a torque figure of 170 Newton meters, so it's likely you'll need to work it hard to make progress on the motorway, for example. It'll top out at 111 miles per hour. Offering a boost in power is the 140 horsepower iteration of this engine. Despite the extra power and torque boost to 180 Newton meters, it's not much quicker than the 125 horsepower car, going from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 11.8 seconds and on to a top speed of 116 miles per hour. You'll want the extra power that this model offers, though, as it can take a while to coax the EcoSport up to speed. It's great fun to rev the engine out, which you'll need to do, but that's the result of having a bulkier car than the Fiesta to haul around. If you've no issues with revving it out, then there's fun to be had, but it never gives quite as much as you expect it to from how it sounds. It sounds quicker and more eager than it really is. Finally, Joining the EcoSport lineup later in 2018 is an entry-level 100 horsepower version of the same EcoBoost engine. Performance figures have yet to be confirmed. The diesel options those looking for the ultimate in low running costs will want to consider one of the 1.5-litre diesel engines, coming in a choice of outputs, 100 horsepower or 125 horsepower. The 100 horsepower diesel is a 1.5-litre Duratorque, mated to a 6-speed manual gearbox driving the front wheels only. There's a useful 215 Nm of torque on offer to haul it along, but speed suffers as it takes 14 seconds to get from 0 to 62 miles per hour, and will reach its top speed at 99 miles per hour. For more oomph, there's the 125 horsepower EcoBoost coming mid-2018, paired with a 6-speed manual gearbox and all-wheel drive. This engine serves up a much more usable 300 Nm of torque, making it the punchiest of the lot with a 0 to 62 miles per hour time of 10.9 seconds and a top speed of 112 miles per hour. It's an epi engine that can get quite coarse and vocal when you rev it, but it's easy to make fast progress and it pulls well in most gears. This is likely to be a small volume seller, though, expected to take just 5% of total EcoSport sales in the UK, plus we don't envisage many buyers making use of that AWD system. Something we noticed when driving the car is that it's not always the easiest to make smooth gear changes. The need to rev the petrol engines quite hard mean you'll be making faster shifts that can cause the car to pitch and feel quite jerky when getting up to speed. The automatic Ford EcoSport, we had a chance to sample the EcoSport with a 6-speed automatic gearbox at the UK launch event. This is only available with the 1.0-litre 125 horsepower EcoBoost petrol motor and so covers 0 to 62 miles per hour in 11.6 seconds with a top speed of 111 miles per hour. This gearbox is perfectly adequate for the vast majority of drivers, with only a minimal delay in power delivery and smooth gear changes. Tidy handling is a Ford trait. EcoSport drives fairly well for a tall car, noticeable body roll, but good steering. While the EcoSport is based on the previous Fiesta, you can't expect the same pinch-up handling since this car is far taller and rolls around a lot more when cornering. It's not bad, though, and it handles well for a taller car, though, with a sharp and direct steering setup, you can tell it's a Ford, and good enough grip levels for most. It can feel a little vague around the straight ahead, but that lends itself to a settled and secure feeling on the motorway. If we're splitting hairs, we think the steering is a little on the heavy side, especially in SD Line trim with its sportier suspension, but it's not a serious issue. It simply makes the EcoSport feel sportier. Let's be realistic, most drivers of a compact SUV like this aren't going to be wannabe racing drivers. For most then, it's a good performer, if a little less exciting than other cars in the range. The ride is a bit of a mixed bag, though. High-spec models with larger 17-inch alloy wheels can feel unsettled over uneven surfaces around town, with a noticeable fidgetiness to the ride. At higher speeds though, it's very good at dealing with imperfections in the road, and never thuds into bumps, even the worst ones. We found the heavier diesel version of the EcoSport to be a bit more stable and settled on the road compared with the petrols, too. Lifted design from the new Fiesta, huge improvement since original launch. Touchscreen media is easy to use. Before its update in 2017, the EcoSport featured a dashboard lifted from the previous generation Fiesta, only with fewer appealing plastics. It felt quite low rent and dated. However, the facelift includes a complete overhaul of the inside, which now comes with the latest Fiesta style of dashboard setup with a prominent touchscreen infotainment system within easy reach of the driver, a set of clear dials and many plusher feeling materials. It certainly feels nicer than the Terrano inside when it comes to the material quality, but there are still some harder plastics on the doors and lower down on the center console. It feels worlds away from the pre-facelift car, and immediately makes the EcoSport a more appealing proposition to potential buyers. It's packed with equipment, too, all of which is easy to operate thanks to clear controls that fall within easy reach of the driver. The touchscreen infotainment is particularly easy to use. Your driving position feels very high, even compared with other crossovers, but that's likely to appeal for those moving to this type of car from a regular small hatchback, for a clearer view of the road and a feeling of security. For us, we'd like to see a bit more adjustment in the seats though, as you do feel a little too high. Comfortable seats. Suspension deals well with bumps. Big wheels can upset the ride despite the good drive. The EcoSport remains a comfortable car to spend time in. The seats on higher spec models are comfy and supportive for your sides, less so if you have long legs, but going for one of these trims means larger wheels that upset the ride around town. It's never too uncomfortable, but cars like the Terrano and Renault Captur do a better job of settling down and avoid becoming upset by imperfections in the road around town. One thing we really did notice is the noise, or lack of it. The EcoBoost feels incredibly refined on the road, with din from the engine and road noise admirably suppressed, even when reaching towards the rev limiter of the EcoBoost petrols. On the motorway, however, there's a lot of wind noise being created around the large door mirrors and windscreen pillars. The front of the EcoSport is still quite bluff, and a fair amount of wind noise is kicked up. Plenty of kit as standard titanium and ST line feature-packed, little need to add options. 3 trim levels are on offer for the EcoSport, following the usual Ford trim setup: ZTEC, titanium and ST line. Standard Ford EcoSport equipment. The EcoSport ZTEC kicks off the range with the following equipment included: 16-inch alloy wheels, LED daytime running lights, air conditioning, electric windows and door mirror adjustment, heated front windscreen, Ford Sync 3 multimedia system with 6.5-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay, Android Auto and USB connectivity. Moving up to titanium, nets the following on top of ZTEC: 17-inch alloy wheels, power folding door mirrors, silver finish roof rails, part leather upholstery, keyless entry and ignition, automatic lights and wipers, cruise control, climate control, rear view camera with rear parking sensors, Sync 3 infotainment system with 8.0-inch touchscreen and sat-nav. Sitting at the top of the range is the SD line, building on titanium with 17-inch alloys with dark finish, sports suspension, black roof rails, contrasting roof and door mirrors, ST line specific bumpers and side skirts, plus rear spoiler, sports pedals, red stitching on gear lever and handbrake. Optional Ford EcoSport accessories. There's plenty of scope for adding extras to the EcoSport, from alloy wheels to bright and bold paint, roof color combinations, as well as more kit. Privacy glass can be added at extra cost, as can a sunroof on titanium and ST line trims. There's a comfort pack available on all models, adding heated front seats and steering wheel, while the titanium luxe pack adds full black leather upholstery, HID headlights and heated front seats to titanium models at extra cost. An upgraded sound system is available, called B&O Play, which includes the 8.0-inch touchscreen on titanium and ST line trims, as well as 10 speakers. 4-star Euro NCAP safety rating, but that was for pre-facelift car from 2017 on. More safety kit added. The unfortunate fact about Ford EcoSport safety is that it's just not up to scratch compared with many rivals. It was only scored 4 stars by Euro NCAP when it was crash tested in 2013, mainly because of the lack of speed limiter and rear seatbelt reminders, but also because more testing of the front end would be required for a better pedestrian safety score. Since then, a speed limiter has been added to the cruise control system, and extra driver assistance tech such as blind spot monitoring has been added to the options list, as well as new side and thorax airbags. That said, it scored 93% in the adult occupancy tests, which means it's a safe car to be in if the unthinkable happens. You'll get a large selection of airbags to keep you safe, while electronic safety features such as stability control with rollover mitigation serve to keep the car on the road in tricky conditions. Decent interior space all around, very good for headroom. For most, tailgate is the biggest issue. There's enough room in the back to accommodate 2 adults if there isn't a pair of tall people in the front, with legroom varying with the angle of the rear seats. You get a smattering of storage cubbies, including a chilled glove box, which will hold 6 cans of drink, and door pockets, which will hold 1.5-liter bottles of water. You get a drawer under the front passenger seat too. Put 2 taller people in the front seats and legroom in the back is quickly diminished, with only small children able to spread out comfortably. The seats themselves are comfortable, though. The EcoSport isn't particularly big at all, and the higher ride height means navigating in and out of tight parking spaces is a breeze. Tinted windows on higher spec models makes it quite dark when looking out the back of the car, but thanks to its slab-sided design, you do well to struggle squeezing into most spaces. One problem we noticed is the large pillars restricting your view out of the front, which can become particularly noticeable at junctions where you need to pull out of a side street. There's a small quarter light, but it's a very chunky setup that feels quite obtrusive. The rear door, with its swing-style opening, opens towards the pavement for the UK rather than away from it. This shouldn't put you off buying the car, but it's worth noting all the same if you regularly find yourself in tight car parks. reversing the car into a space could prove troublesome when you come to open the boot. A traditional tailgate would make life much easier, plus it's quite a heavy thing to open and close, with a slightly awkward handle located in the taillights. When considering Ford EcoBoost practicality, it's worth noting that interior space and boot room both vary depending on the configuration of the boot floor. There's a maximum of 356 litres available with the boot floor as low as it can go. If you position it higher, there's a 334 litre capacity, which does fall slightly short of rivals like the Terrano, 400 litres, and Renault Captur, but more than the Mazda CX-3's 287 litres if you opt for one of the top spec models. In regular form it's 350 litres for the Mazda, on par with the Ford. If you fold the rear seats down altogether, the load space increases to 1,238 litres.